Okay. We are ready. We are we are ready. All right. Welcome to the Sunday Brunch Bunch. And as you see down there on the screen, this is episode 34. Wow. 34 episodes. Pretty amazing. And they've all been very good ones. They've all been really fun to do. We've had great people up here for the show. And today we're going to be talking about, here we go, da, 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 da. It's the year 2016 in music. So, yeah, we've got some things going on in 2016. We've got some new artists, and we've got some older artists that have been around for a while, still making music and putting out records. So it was a pretty good year. So I've got a few records to show. Let me think here. 2016. I'd already been living in Chicago for a while, so I was trying to remember what. Oh, you know what? I think that was the year I went to. Was that the year I went to Death Valley for a vacation? That was a pretty cool trip. But anyway, we got one person. I don't know who that person might be. Could be just somebody watching, but I know that, as you can see from the comments, that Tommy was inquiring. We were ready, and so I don't know. Maybe that's him out there. I'll put the link for those who do want to join the stream and talk about their records from 2016. Records, CDs, cassettes, even, because there was there were a lot of bands that were issuing material on cassette, and um, I think it's because maybe the production costs and distribution costs is much more affordable via cassette than perhaps vinyl. I don't know. I don't know that much about the music industry, but hey, here is
Hello,
Tommy.
hello.
How are you?
Quite fine, thank you. Quite fine.
Cool. So, do you know anything about why cassettes all of a sudden is it less expensive for artists to get their
Yes,
music
it's
done?
that's expensive for artist and because now you like order the vinyl from the vinyl pressing plants. It takes
Yeah.
like 6 months to and up to 8, 9 months. But you can do the cassettes you get in like 2 weeks time. Also
Uh,
CDs is the same. It's like about that you get in 2 weeks time from the factory or less than a month. So and you can do like the tapes like 50 copies runs, so it's easy to bands to do those tapes and sell them in the gigs and do
yeah.
just a little more. And when you are like order those uh, records. Hyvää huomenta, Chris.
Hi.
He's learning some Finnish. Can you see how Chris has changed? Do you
Oh,
notice?
he's got a different hat.
Yes, he has Bring is high and Finnish hardcore in his heart.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's like reborn now.
Yes. I will never be the same.
Yeah,
Not after
probably.
Finnish hardcore. No, no
Yeah.
one
I
is.
can I can say when I first listened to Terveet Kädet in 1984, I was never the same again. It takes me just like a storm did, like lightning in my head. I changed completely, that time.
I would
time, yeah.
imagine the experience is even much more profound when you see it live as opposed to just listening to it on a CD or something.
Yeah. It took me like I see Tervet Caret first time live 2007, and it was still it uh, broke back hardcore to my life because there was big gap. I didn't listen quite much hardcore there in the early 2000s and even in 90s not so much. But now I at least I buy a lot of hardcore and listen of course and go to gigs regularly.
I'm still pretty safe when it comes to, the hardcore. I'm more familiar bands like No Means No, or what Jello Biafra has been doing with the Guantanamo Bay other day. But it was it was breaking my budget. So for that shopping trip, I may go back and find it. And see what's going on with it's a fairly new one. I think it was released maybe last year. I can't remember what it's called though. The Guantanamo Bay School of Medicine. That's the
I know.
yeah.
They have some good tracks, but of course it can't be Dead Kennedys anymore.
Yeah, right. But it kind of, and it isn't strictly hardcore because he moves into rockabilly. He does a little bit of even garage kind of stuff, and it's you can't really pigeonhole it on one thing. So how things have been going, Chris? Besides, you are now no longer a Finnish hardcore virgin.
Well, I don't have a lot of records from 2016. When I did the Discog search, apparently I bought a lot of records that were reissued in 2016. But
Yeah, there were a lot of reissues coming out.
So I
think wasn't that when they started reissuing finally John Prine records?
I don't know.
Because I know for a long time the only way you could get John Prine was to get an OG, and they were starting to get ridiculously overpriced for even crappy copies. I mean, you pay $60 for like a G-rated copy. I was so happy when they started reissuing the catalog. So, do you have very many from 2016?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 8 things to show.
Okay, well, that's kind of right in the realm of where I'm at as well. So, and that doesn't mean the show will go too long, which is perfectly fine. Also, when we finish with the 2000s, I think I've got some ideas of maybe doing certain either themes, or maybe I'll go back into like to 1968 and start going forward from there again. I don't know. We'll see what strikes my fancy. So well, because this is also being recorded and then it gets posted, even though there's only one person watching right now, say hello, whoever that one person is. So
hi, lurker.
Then we can go ahead and get started. I'm pretty sure that Jason will probably drop by shortly. Maybe he's probably just getting to his store and opening things up. I don't know. He was inquiring, so but I expect he will show up. So we can get things started. And why don't you get us started, Tommy?
Okay. I actually noticed that I pick like 12 records here, but I don't listen. There are only 2 records that I still listening quite often. But I like to start with record that I in my opinion has the most beautiful music in my collection. I think I talked last time about also this. This is Myrkur and her album Mausoleum that is recorded live at Emanuel Vigeland's mausoleum in Oslo, Norway. So it's only Myrkur and piano and the girls' school, girl soil. And I just checked what kind of place is Emanuel Vigeland's mausoleum. He was a Norwegian painter that died in 60s or maybe 50 late 50s 60s. He built a museum for himself, but he decided that okay, this is going to be mausoleum. It's quite big building without any windows and very dark paintings inside and a lot of echoes there. So this is recorded live there, and this is very beautiful. Like Myrkur is doing her songs from her first EP and first LP, and there's one Bathory, black metal band Bathory's cover version also, and the most exceptional here is the Myrkur's voice and these young girls here singing here in the background. It's a very beautiful album, but of course this is also a very dark album. Not the music that makes you maybe smile or laugh or something like that, but very beautiful album.
So this building that you were describing, so this guy, was this like a museum or gallery that he built with no windows?
He built the big building he started to build it in the 20s, 1920s.
Okay.
And he was maybe planning. I just read a little bit about the mausoleum. He built it for his own paintings, and he did very big frescoes in the wall and the ceilings, but then he decided, okay, this is going to be my mausoleum.
Okay.
And he put all the windows down, and it's, if I go ever to Oslo, I'm going to go that place because it's look very, very great looking place.
So even though it's where he's interred, it's public. People can go in and see it. Okay, cool. Now that's something that was never on my mind about sights to see in Oslo.
Yeah, if I go Oslo, I'll definitely go there. Maybe I try to also find the place where the black metal started in Oslo. I don't know if it's it's this building anymore where the story where the Burzum and Mayhem and all people were.
Someday I will get to Norway, I hope. I really would like to visit the country. So I'm probably running out of time to do that. All right, Chris, what have you got?
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with a 10-inch record. So this is Apocalypse Fetish by Lou Barlow. So Lou Barlow, he's the main guy from Sebadoh, also one of the guys in Dinosaur Jr. So this is a 5-song EP. Here's the inner sleeve. And, oh, look. Clear vinyl. It's all modern looking. So, and this album is sort of in between. It's not completely lo-fi like some of his early solo work is. He plays a lot of ukulele on this particular record. So it's not quite as refined as some of his more recent stuff is. And so, and I'll be honest, this isn't something I've listened to a ton, but Lou Barlow has been kind of a guy that I've always collected a lot of stuff of, and so I kept doing it. I got this guy. I know this was right around the time. I know that he had gotten remarried. He had a child with his new wife, became a dad again fairly late. I don't know if the baby on the cover has much to do with that or not, but he seems to be not quite as angsty as in like some of his stuff from maybe the earlier part of the 2000s. So
yeah, having children can change your your worldview. But ukulele, I mean, I like. There's some. I have a record by Jake Shimabukuro, which I really enjoy. That he's a fantastic ukulele player. And then there's Feng Yi, who is a kid. He has a YouTube channel, and he's an amazing guitar player, but started with ukulele. His parents are doing an absolutely great job of managing him in terms of gradually exposing him to the world, because he's a fantastic player. When he's high school age now, when he hits his later teens, he's gonna be a mover and shaker in the rock world. I'm almost certain of that. People are going to get to know him. All right. Well, my first record is a 12-inch compilation of acid house music. And it's all I have is, the generic sleeve. But it's called, I'll pull it out here. It is called Ghetto Acid. And this compilation, I guess you could say this is it says volume 1 and 2. So side 1 must be 1 or whatever. It's on the, what is this, Beat Boys label, it looks like. And yes, I just picked this up at there's a store here in Chicago, not too far from me, called Gramophone Records, that specializes in dance and 12-inch singles and house music and electronica and just all kinds of music, but very little what you might even call mainstream alternative rock. I mean, even that, it doesn't have a whole lot in there. But yeah, there's some songs on here by, I don't know who these people are, but they're all good songs. Sleazy D and Marshall Jeffrey, DJ Spank Spank.
We all know DJ Spank Spank.
Yeah, I don't know who DJ Spank Spank is.
This is a new acid house music from 2016, not some old tracks.
No, you're right. This is new stuff. This is music from 2016. But probably my favorite track is on here is called No Meta Watt. So it's no, and then Metter is METTER, and then Watt, WATT. And Acid Driver is the artist, for it. But yeah, these are all really great acid house dance mixes, club mixes. Getting more into it because unbeknownst to me, even after living here for more than a decade here in Chicago, I had no idea how important Chicago was in terms of the origin of acid house music.
Yeah. I like that late 80s, early 90s scene acid house.
Right.
And I like very much of those. I listen quite often. Some mixes from Mixcloud usually, because in the LPs don't have so many good tracks.
Right. There is after this, I have other errands to run, but I'm going to go by my local record store because the other day I saw, I was on my way to a concert. So I just stopped in just to look at records because it was still kind of early. So I wasn't going to buy anything because, I'm on my way to a concert. But they had a double LP release of Chicago Acid House from 1988. And I looked it up on Discogs, and it was like nearly a 5-star rating. Like it was like 4.9 or something like that out of like 80 ratings or something. And so I'm gonna go back and see if it's still there.
You should get it. I probably know what LP it is, and it has been my want list quite a long time, but I haven't just ordered it yet. There's always something else or that's the only thing with the seller, so I haven't bought it already.
No, all right. So, Tommy, what do you have next for us?
Yeah, actually, I have multinational album here. It's band called Black Heat. Its original name was Black Heat Shuya, but I don't know why they dropped the Shuya away. This is like, I just have to look like, it's French, Greek, Canadian, US band, so there's members from all over the places. Actually,
I
quite
like that cover.
long time talk that there are some Finnish guys also playing here, but not. This is like maybe stoner rock type of thing with the Arabic touch. So here's the back cover is like this. Here songs like The Approach to Al Mutasim, Mola Mahab Jan, and things like this, Word of Hakim, but they are singing English, so there's but quite much stoner rock type of music, and then the Arabian vibes there. After this one, they released the Finnish Fart Records release. This is also the American TP Records and Finnish Fart Records co-releasing this, and I also have a CD of this, so I'm listening this in car quite often. They in 2017 they released the Arabian Fush 7-inch, and that is good. There's Jordanian singer there, and with very much psychedelic rock and stoner rock, and the Arabic vibes are there. That's my favorite release of this band.
So that sounds like something I might like because I'm a fan of. Are you familiar with Alton Gunn?
Yeah, and I know the name at least.
I have to check that out. Black Heat. So is that like a self-titled album?
Yeah, Shifting Mirrors. Shifting Mirrors is the album name.
15 Mirrors.
Yeah, Shifting. This is very good album. I like this very much. And probably this is the most listened album from 2016 because I still listening it quite often. Usually if I like to have something metal type of music, I put this one because this is easy listening their background.
Okay. Nice. All right. So, Chris.
All right. Well, I have one more 10-inch record to show. So this is La Luz with the Damp Face EP. Hardly Art record. So you can see there are 5 songs. This is an all-women band from Seattle. They play
I've heard of this band. Yeah.
Yeah, they play basically sort of a indie rock flavored version of surf music. And so it's all pretty cool to listen to. If I remember right, I think maybe all of the songs on this are instrumental, but I don't think that's true of some of their later records. And I also was just Googling them a couple minutes ago, and apparently I fell afoul of the reissue thing again, because apparently this originally came out in 2012. So, my other stuff in Discogs, it said 2016. It was obvious because it's like, oh yeah, I know that record came out in the 80s, or that record came out.
Yeah, right. Yes, yeah.
But this one,
it's really confusing.
Yeah,
the releases.
So,
yeah, I go to the master release.
We'll talk about this. It's cool. So
yeah, I always go to the master release first, so that I can look up the earliest releases and then figure it out. But La Luz, now I remember them. They were going to be the opening act when Car Seat Headrest was going to play for the second time in Chicago, but then Will Toledo got sick with COVID and they couldn't come, and La Luz, they went ahead with the show anyway, but I didn't go to that show because they refunded my ticket when Car Seat Headrest didn't come. So, but now I remember. Yeah, okay. It makes sense because they're from Seattle. Car Seat Headrest is based in Seattle now. So, all right, from Acid House, I am going to go now to folk. Well, it's not really folk. It's kind of alternative folk, but this is Jake Bugg's third album, and it's called On My One. And this is probably the first album where Jake Bugg had almost entire control over the music. He was writing all the songs himself, both music and lyric. Before he was writing the song lyrics, but a lot of the control over the production and instrumentation was in somebody else's hands, especially on the album Shangri-La. This one, it's not a bad album, but it's really all over the place. It is. It's got some really, it's got some cool artwork, but the songs. He's really experimenting with all kinds of different sounds, from being very electric to being very acoustic. To he even has a song, a hip hop song, where he's doing some rapping, which is kind of unusual for somebody from Western England, the white boy doing that kind of with that accent, from it's not Bristol area. I always get it mixed up. Bristol's in the south and Brighton's in the west. It's whatever one is in the west, and he's from that area. And it's far enough north that you almost start getting that North England Scottish crossover accent. But anyway, hello, Christoph. So anyway, yeah, it's an all right album, but like I say, it's really all over the place, and it's I think his next album is going to be much, well, I know it is. When we get to that year, it's much stronger than this one. But he's got a few good songs on here. If you're a Jake Bugg fan anyway from the first two records, I think you'll enjoy it. But like I say, it's really all over the place. It has like no focus, either musically or even lyrically. So that's what I have. Another record by Jake Bugg. So, Tommy.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Jason. I see Jason is here.
Seems to be on. Hello, Jason. I have here also, this is also listed as, I have always thought this is only blues, but there's also folk rock and maybe a little country here. It's a band called Talmud Beach, and the album name is Chief. And the bird here is Kuikka in Finnish, but seem to be loon.
Yes, it looks like a loon.
In English, but it's Kuikka because the how it sings is quick type of things. But here's the back cover, and this is really nice blues rock in English. There's only one song in Finnish, and they have very much this. The lyrics here could be like in the song Forest that is maybe there in the folk music where there's singing when he is in the forest and picking mushrooms there and things like that. And the main song here for me is the only Finnish song here is Kekkonen. Kekkonen, of course, was the Finnish president in 60s, 70s, and until the early 80s, and it's a little bit like erotic song for Mr. President. He's sweetie after doing some cutting trees there in the forest, and very nice song you don't hear. A lot of erotic songs about presidents, I guess, in any president, but it's here is anyway, and this is very good blues rock album, and Talmud Beach is the only blues rock albums that I have. I have couple of records from this band, and this is also I listen this quite often. This is also the second album from the 2060s that I am still listening, like not every month, but many times per year. This one.
That's a romance album for a president?
It's one song here. It's
Okay.
erotic song.
That's all I caught.
Erotic song for former Finnish president.
Oh, okay. It's a Finnish thing.
About whom I don't know anything. Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
Good. Surviving. Went out to a couple shows last night. Thank God I don't drink anymore because I wouldn't even be here right now. This is just from yelling and screaming at bands. So.
Oh man, yeah, I know how that can be.
Is it allowed to smoke in the restaurants?
No. People go outside to smoke all their weed.
Yeah, it's good because I think this was the best decision they ever made in Finland, because when you are at the shows, everybody's smoking there, you got awful headache and hangover. Even you didn't drink anything, but now people are outside smoking, and now it's only sweet and farts.
Is it legal to smoke weed in the States and Finland? Because it is here. So
no, not the inside, only outside.
Outside, yeah, right. But you can smoke.
It's the opposite here. You can't smoke it in public, but you can smoke it, in private. But then, see, like the apartment building I live in is a non-smoking building, so I know there are people in my building who smoke weed because I can smell it going through the ventilation system.
Yeah.
But I don't smoke it. I use the gummies. I can't smoke it. But yeah, last couple of shows I went to, people were lighting up in the venue, and then I'll get a contact high from the smoke, which for me is kind of dangerous, because the reason I do the gummies is because the smoke makes my blood pressure just go whoosh, and I could come close to passing out, fainting from it.
It's
But
illegal.
anyway.
Yeah, and it's illegal in Kentucky because we want to make sure all the tax money from anything like marijuana, gambling, anything like that, we want to make sure it goes to all the other states.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, I guess.
You know what?
The other states, thank you.
Kentucky used to be, when you go back to the turn of the 20th century, it was a major producer of hemp.
They've started doing industrial hemp again and the like, and we have a great climate for growing it, but it's not. Yeah, we're still in the puritanical thing. I mean,
you're like Nevada.
Literally where I live, I mean, we got over prohibition fairly recently, so.
Are you guys Mormons or something? Where's Mitt Romney?
They got great bourbon. They got great bourbon.
Yeah. Bourbon's fine. Yeah. Okay. So. All right.
Great place for that. All right. So what you got, Chris?
All right. We're gonna go to CD route. So this is Tanya Donnelly with what's called Swan Song series. So this was a series of EPs that she recorded over kind of a several year period. And then they all got put out in 2016. I think a lot of them had been digitally released over the years. And this is her working with a variety of people from kind of that Boston Northeast alternative scene. If you're not familiar with her, she's best known for being the main person in the band Belly. She'd also been in Throwing Muses and the earliest iteration of the Breeders. And so she's got kind of a very ethereal sounding singing voice, and her guitar work, it tends to be pretty mellow on this. It's not as rocking as like some of the 90s stuff is. And I'm coughing a bit. It's called Swan Song series because she said it was like this is going to be like her retirement from music, but boy, she's still putting out records. So I don't believe musicians are retired until they're dead.
Yes, that that there's a lot of.
I wish, Jason.
the old musicians, they don't necessarily retire. They just kind of disappear, and they're still playing. They're just not doing it, in public or something like that.
Yeah, because she's done a couple. She's done a couple of collaborations since then. My understanding is that Belly did a reunion album a few years ago. They're supposed to be doing another one that's supposed to come out sometime this year. So,
okay, all right. Okay, so Jason.
Jason's got 700 techno records.
Yeah, you can.
Oh fuck yeah!
You can do in batches here because the rest of us don't have that many to show, and we've already shown 3 records. You missed my Acid House record that I showed.
Oh shoot! What one was it?
Oh,
808 State.
It's a It was a compilation called Ghetto Acid.
Cool. Chicago.
From I don't know if you know this label. I'll ask you as long as you're here. I got to look at the label again. I think the label is Beat Boys or Pure Radio.
Nah,
I don't know
that one.
Anyway,
cool. That's good. Good to have some Acid House. Yeah, so I mean, I did a count again, and I have about 400 records. No, I think somewhere between 300 and 400 records from 2016. So I'll keep it short. Yeah, I'll do I guess I'll do the cassettes first. Little cassette round. I got cassette CDs. So kicking it off with some tapes. I got this one right here. What is this? Warfear, the demo. These guys are actually from Malaysia. This is Malaysian crust punk.
Did you talk about them last week?
No, I don't think I showed these guys, but probably something that looks similar.
There was a Malaysian band that you talked about last week.
Yeah, or I think I had a Malaysian. Oh yeah, no, that was a techno guy. Yeah.
Okay.
That was Susing. This is crust punk. This is Warfear. Really nice packaging here on this one. So that's one. What else we got here? Then we got Nick Klein. I think I mentioned Nick Klein before. He's from New York. He's kind of weirdo techno punk. So electronics and kind of distorted beats and kind of electronic. Let's see, what does it say here? Every time you wish it was louder, an angel loses their wings. Is the name of the album. Actually, this is a split. This is Nick Klein and Enrique. And I did show Enrique last week, Miguel Enrique Alvarez, killer distorted industrial stomp of a single. He's on the split with this on this cassette. It's just amazing. And I got some more Enrique later, but we'll get there. Axion. This is some traditional heavy metal. Headbangers. This is actually just a single kind of thing. 2 tracks. Headbangers and All Bark No Bite. Next we got Toad. This band is some grindcore, I'm pretty sure. Grindcore band from Canada. Toad. What do they stand for? Truth of All Death is Toad. That's a good one.
Truth of All Death. Well, yeah, it's true. That is true.
That is too true in some ways. Yeah, loses a lot of romance pretty fast, doesn't it?
You cannot deny it.
Then we got some queer punk, Docs, local hardcore band, no longer around. The band members have all went off into other projects, but this is a really significant band for me because it was kind of my getting back into hardcore punk locally and going to shows was seeing these guys. It was probably one of the first hardcore bands I got back into around 2016. I got all their demos. I think they got 3 tapes. They even put out a compilation of the previous tapes all on one tape. So you got tracks like Baby Doomer, Slimer, Stuck in Hetero, Asshole, and Blissful Myth. These guys they're just raging. Female fronted vocals. Got the lyric sheet here. Great band, Docs. All right, couple more here. We got where do we want to go? We got Bombardment. I just picked up this on vinyl. Not this actual album, but I just picked up a record by these guys on vinyl. They're from France, so some French hardcore. Bombardment. This is a demo. There's pad printing on the whole thing. So they're pretty cool. And last but not least, we'll go with another demo. Some hardcore punk called Corander. I just love the artwork on this thing. Just open up too. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that
Good
looks
drawing.
like Mort or
Yeah, I know. Rick and Mort or something.
yeah, Rick and Mort.
Don't know. I'm not sure where these guys are from. I'll have to look them up. But Corander, Cronander. I can't even say it, but whatever. Good band. That's it for my tapes.
All
I
right.
got through it.
That I thought you were trying to say coriander, and I'm sitting there going, why would a band,
I know. I was like, that would have been
why would a
great
hardcore
too.
punk band name themselves after a spice,
A spice. Yeah, that'd be great.
especially one that's hard to use. All right, so this next band, I've talked about them before in early year 2000s, and that is this Dutch group known as De Staat. And this was released, this is their second most recent album, which is just called O. And as you can see, it's signed by the band members. They are a alternative rock, little bit of an industrial edge, but also just I guess they're the members of the group, as I've said before, come from different areas of Europe, some Eastern European countries, and also I think one or two might have also come from Middle East countries. So they've come from places where there have been very oppressive regimes running the show, and it comes out in their music. So there's a lot of songs that are very antagonistic. They don't sing love songs. They're very antagonistic toward government and corporations and also religion. And there's a little bit of a nihilistic appeal to it. Really good stuff. This is probably their weakest album, but it's still really good. I really like their material. They've got a lot of videos. It's interesting. They show all the different types of guitars and drums and everything that they use, and the pedal effects and everything. Even the different tambourines that they use. But yeah, I'm trying to think of who they might sound like. I guess there's a little bit of a Nine Inch Nails feel to them, but then there's also a little bit of I don't know. Just I'm not going to try and categorize them, but check them out. Records are very hard to find in the U.S. Every record that I have of theirs, I've had to order from a European vendor. Even in Discogs, once in a while, I'll see an American vendor, a U.S. vendor who's got a copy of something for sale, but invariably it's a European vendor. I don't even know if they've ever toured in the U.S., but they do a lot of touring around, in the Netherlands and Belgium and in Germany, I think also. All their songs are sung in English, you check them out on YouTube. They've got quite a few videos. So De Staat, great stuff. All right, Tommy.
Yes, because there are like two Finnish hardcore fans there. Like me, I have here something fresh hardcore. First album of Kohti Tuhoa. I think I last time showed the first 7-inch, but this is their first album, second pressing. The first one was with white stripes here. So this is total screaming from start to finish. Here's the back cover. Helena is the singer, and there's 3 guys playing other instruments there. Songs are like Mass Death and Slave and things like this. So
what the hell is that on the cover?
I think it's some kind of coffin or something like that with teeth, and then people are going there.
Looks like teeth almost.
Yeah, teeth. I think there's teeth like in the coffin, and it brings me like some kind of concentration camp picture here. But this is awesome band. I think this is the top 3 hardcore bands in Finland at the moment, and they are total. All their records are like 5/5 records. I'm pretty sure like Chris and Jason would love this one. And I saw once my only 7-inch for this 2017. It's this Finnish Brazilian split. Here's Kuolema. That is, they started already in early 1980s. Of course, there are only the singer Ile there. It started in hardcore, but it's really noisecore at the moment. Here's the picture of Ile. Ile and the another band, Helvetin Viemärit, is from Sao Paulo, Brazil, but like you can see from the name Helvetin Viemärit, it's like severs of the hell. It's in Finnish, and they are singing in Finnish, totally in Finnish. And this is like cooperation of 14 different labels, and I think this is quite improvised thing, at least from the Kuolema, because he has long song Viina ja kaljaa, booze and beer. The lyrics are booze and beer, beer and booze, beer, booze. So Ile is really going to deep lyrics. I think most favorite song of the Kuolema is of course from the 80s, the Apparat, but he has a song Booze and Drugs, and that's my favorite song. I think it's also in video in YouTube. And the drummer is Otto, that is my friend, and he's also playing in Kova Rasva, so it's really active guy in Finnish hardcore scene already from the 80s. Helvetin Viemärit and Kuolema. Excellent stuff. Noisecore and hardcore.
Nice, I have to look up some of these just so I can listen to them, because I've got almost every I would say so far every single record you've shown, and there's been some very interesting ones to me, but I've never ever heard of any of them. But that's unsurprising, because there are so many European acts that we never hear about over here. We just, unless they make some kind of crossover or something, it just.
Well,
yeah.
Finland really has its own scene.
And most of the Finnish bands already from the 80s in the punk and hardcore, they are doing always in Finnish the stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Swedish bands, they are doing mostly in English.
Yeah.
But in Finland, it's only in the 90s when there's a straight edge and this kind of thing where they are doing, and the skate punk music. Then there are bands doing in English, but always the language have been here Finnish.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Japanese punk scene too. Most of that's in Japanese, right? They don't do a lot of English. I think in the
Japanese they could, maybe there's the language barrier that they can't speak any English, but in Finland, in this case, most of the people speak as good English as me, so you barely understand them. But so it's no language barrier. Maybe
just
in
the
early
choice.
80s,
in
the early 80s, but nowadays everyone can speak here English. If you just ask anything, they understand and they could speak.
Yeah, well, until your channel, Tommy, I mean, I never really got into the Finnish punk scene. I mean, I sort of discovered it through your channel. Or by accident, I have a record, but
yeah,
good shit, man.
All right, Chris, what do you have?
All right, we're going to show some Dinosaur Jr., give a glimpse of what you're not. And I read a review about Dinosaur Jr. that kind of said they were like sort of the alternative rock 90s version of a band like AC/DC or Motorhead. in the sense that their albums kind of became formulaic after a while, but it's a really good fucking formula, so it's okay. So of course it's a Dinosaur Jr. record, so there's a lot of like really loud, fuzzy, whacked out guitar being played by Jay Mascis. And then typically what's been their what they've typically done over the years, and especially when they got back together with the original lineup, is that Lou Barlow, and I showed his 10-inch earlier, who plays bass in Dinosaur Jr., gets 2 songs per album. His songs are usually a little bit quirkier. They're oftentimes acoustic. They'll be there's sort of a change of pace from the Jay Mascis songs. So, and again, if you're the kind of person that you're like, oh, I'm going to own 1 or 2 Dinosaur Jr. albums, you probably don't need this one, but it's probably not enough of a variation from other albums for those that aren't really into the band. But there we go.
That's now that's a band that I have heard of multiple times, but I've never listened to. So,
oh man, you should check them out. I think you'd like them. They're a bit heavy, but they're good. Yeah.
No, I don't mind that. So,
yeah. I was surprised they were still going in 2016. I didn't know.
Oh yeah. They put out an album. I think it was last year or the year before. So wow. Yeah. So what had happened was that at some point in the early 90s, Lou got kicked out of the band, and then that's when he did Sebadoh. Right. And Jay Mascis was doing his own thing. And then about 15 years ago, they all got back together, the original 3 members. They kind of hashed out their differences, and they kind of figured out that if they play nice, Dinosaur Jr. is a more valuable brand name than them by themselves. So
yeah. I'd like to see them live. Have you ever seen them live?
I've never seen them live. They are notorious for being one of the loudest bands in the world.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, I've seen Motorhead, so they'd have to compete with Motorhead.
Yeah, no, it is said that they are up there with anybody for being loud. You definitely want. I don't know how Jay Mascis has any sense of hearing at all. He must have tinnitus. I mean, he's by these huge Marshall stacks, and they're cranked all the way up, and you'll definitely want your ear protection if you ever go to a Dinosaur show.
Good tip.
Yeah, well, I've been starting to bring the foam earplugs with me when I go to shows, and it isn't so much the volume, but I've noticed that there are certain frequencies of bass that really bug me. Really is very uncomfortable.
That's interesting. Yeah, my wife is bothered by bass, but I'm bothered by the highs. So we can't go to any shows together, basically.
Yeah. So
you liking this? I'm not liking this.
So the album from I think it was 87 or 88 called "You're Living All Over Me." That's what I think that was either their second or third album. That's the one I would recommend as your first Dinosaur Jr. album. It's widely considered to be their best album.
What about Bug? I got Bug. That's my
Bug's
favorite.
good as well. So I mean, again, it's sort of like an AC/DC or a Motorhead. It's not like any album you buy of theirs, it's never going to be horrible. But there are ones that are a bit better. So
they're pretty consistent. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Jason, what's your next round?
All right, I'll do some crunchy, hardcore electronic techno. So speaking of Enrique earlier,
that's a mishmash.
Well, speaking of Enrique earlier, here we go. This is his best work, I think. I showed a record last week that was kind of really raw and edgy, and this one continues that. This one's called "Please Shut the Door" by Enrique. And I'm also highlighting a favorite label of mine, too, out of New York called Bank. I got Lies label, which is out of New York, and then Bank, which is kind of like a smaller junior kind of label compared to Lies. But yeah, this is Miguel Alvarino, a.k.a. Enrique. You got Please Shut the Door, K-Town, People Talking in the Laundromat. And just killer, crunchy, hardcore techno, I'm going to call it. Yeah, kind of industrial infused a bit. Funky, not super fast. And I noticed on Discogs that one's still for sale, like $7, starting at $7. What a killer single. I got another single from this label from Bank Records again, Bank out of New York. This one is Centifugos, and this is a different artist named Alex Suarez. And he recently had something in 2020. I mean, that's not that recent actually. But yeah, this one is also really cool. Kind of more weirdo techno, a bit of industrial edge. In fact, it's kind of funny on Discogs they have like, what's the description for this? This one's called Lost in God's Country. Style, industrial, drone, African, tribal, power electronics, rhythmic noise, and techno. So,
Yeah, interesting.
I highly recommend that label, Bank Records. Just a cool ass label. They don't have a ton of releases. I think they're up to like 35 or something.
Yeah, I see their graphic design of the covers is very simple.
Very
It's got
stark.
that black line on the side, and then the black line up at the top and the back, and
nice design sensibility. And we'll do one more here. We're going over to Germany here for this one. This is Schwefelgelb. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but Schwefelgelb. Schwefelgelb, Gelb. So these guys really pioneered a return back to EBM, electronic body music, not to be confused with EDM, but electronic body music of like the 80s industrial scene. So like harsh industrial, theoretically you can't dance to Einstürzende Neubauten or Throbbing Gristle. You could try, but it'd be pretty weird. It's like dancing to free jazz. But EBM in the 80s was like taking techno and adding more dance beats to it. So, your Front 242, Skinny Puppy, 9 Inch Nails even. And then these guys coming out in the 2010s, Schwefelgelb, kind of picking up on all that kind of vibe. So industrial, electronic, a little bit dancey. That's the other side. It's just one of these kind of floppy covers. And then I got the record. But they're still putting out stuff. They're kind of well known on their Bandcamp and stuff. I don't know if they've done videos or not on YouTube, but probably. So those are 3 there.
Oh, that's all?
Well, I'll save more for later.
Oh, okay. Just seemed like just a small sample for you.
Small sample, I know.
Yeah. All right.
I guess we don't have Jorgen today. He just didn't have enough stuff, eh?
Well, he's contributing information there in the peanut gallery. So
in the chat, okay.
Yeah, he's going there. Now this next band, I've talked about them a lot. And one of my favorite new bands, and 2016 was when they came out with probably their best record so far in terms of an entire package. It's kind of, at least it's more, I don't want to say commercial, but it's probably their tightest release. And Car Seat Headrest, Teens of Denial. And it is such amazing. All the lyrics are on the inside. Then, of course, you got the guy from Napoleon Dynamite on the back. It's so many good songs on here, and so many. I like "Destroyed by Hippie Powers." I love that song. The line, "Tell my mother I'm coming home. I've been destroyed by hippie powers." Then there's "Drunk Drivers, Killer Whales." Such a great song where he's singing about, we don't have to be living this nihilistic life of just getting fucked up all the time. We can stop and, as he describes it, turn off the engine, get out of the car, and start walking. Where we don't have to live these crazy lives where we're just ending up in crashes all the time. Some of the songs are really, Drugs with Friends is a good song. Friends are better. Drugs are better with friends are better with drugs are better with friends are just this loop. anyway, and Fill in the Blank, classic song where he's talking about his depression. Amazing show too that they put on when they were here in Chicago. They had 2 nights here and 2 sold out nights here in Chicago, and I went to see them. A lot of their earlier material that was not released on vinyl, that you could only get through Bandcamp, is also really, really great lo-fi. But yeah, I guess one fan, I said that this was great pop music, and one fan was like really upset that I called them a pop act. This is not pop music. Well, it is, it's alternative rock, but Will Toledo is so good at taking pop hooks, very common pop hooks, and just making them fresh and then incorporating them into his songs. It's not pop music because it's not, most of the time it's not your standard verse chorus kind of song. Some of these songs are like epic, long songs that are really and very personal on other levels. But anyway, it's they are one of my favorite bands of the 2000s for sure. I just can't say enough good things about them. Great band. So that's it. Car Seat Headrest. All right, so Tommy.
Okay, jumping from the genre to another genre. As here's actually I have a couple records I could go in same genre. Here's Italian band Messa, and now it's doom metal. Very slowly, and it's female fronted. Sarah is the lead singer here, and back cover is like this. I don't know, I read where this picture is taken, but I have forgotten it. It's quite cool looking picture. So
yeah,
very heavy riff orientated, slow stuff. My favorite song is here Alba and Babylon in the side A, and I don't remember another song was that I listened quite much. They have now done 3 albums, and this is Italian release Aural Music, but they are now in Finnish Swart Records label, and this one is in 3 sides, and it's clear record, but the second record is, I think this is very good looking record because it's clear and it's white here in the other side, so it's make this picture. I don't have many of, I think this is the only one I have like this. I think this very good looking album. Nice to see when it's going around there in the turntable. And maybe more traditional black metal, the American band Inquisition. This band have ridiculous names. This album name is Bloodshed Across Empyrean Altar Beyond the Celestial Zenith. And all of the other songs are same kind of thing. The Flames of Infinity, Blackness Before Creation. But best song is here is Wings of Anu. It's only 2 members here, Dagon and Incubus. So it's only guitar and drums. Very well made, modern black metal. I really enjoy any of this. Usually I don't like much of this modern black metal. I'm more there in early 90s.
Did you say one of the members was from Incubus?
Or
no?
These band members are Dagon and Incubus.
The member's name is
yes,
okay.
Dagon is, I think is he the singer, and Incubus is the drummer probably. I'm not sure because I actually don't care about who's singing or who's playing drums. I don't know what the band sounds like. And it's traditional black metal, and it's very well made, so it's not the lo-fi type of black metal that I'm maybe listening more like those early Mayhem and Burzum and things like that. This is very well made stuff. And
All right.
do
Okay.
you, Jason, notice Inquisition?
No, I don't know that release.
Yeah, this,
Inquisition? No.
yes.
Inquisition, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know that release. I was gonna say you gotta check out my next release is a black metal cassette, on Low Noise. I gotta send you the link to that. I think you would dig it.
Yeah, you mentioned that you are going to release.
Yeah, it's like Alex's buddy, like Witchfinder, Alex Witchfinder, our friend there from Germany. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, Chris, what do you have up next?
All right. Well, we're going to go a little bit mellower here. So this is a singer-songwriter named Vanessa Peters. This album's called The Burden of Unshakable Proof. Okay, so it is a bit. So for Valentine's Day, there's a heart for you guys. So
Yeah, nice.
that she's holding outside of like this skeletal body. This would have actually been good for like the misleading covers on that contest because there's nothing that's really full of horror the way this heart is outside. So and so Vanessa Peters is it's kind of a folk rock sort of album, and she's somebody I discovered a couple of years ago. I picked up I don't even remember where I learned about it, but I heard a couple of her songs somewhere and I liked it, and I bought her most recent album, and which I really liked, and I went back and found her Bandcamp and bought a couple other records by her. When I bought the record, she sent me a message back, "Do you want me to autograph it?" I said, "Sure." So she did. So, nice. And so she's based out of, I think Dallas, somewhere in Texas, but you would not guess it by listening to her music because you're not going to really get a country or a Tex-Mex or any of that sort of flavor off of it. It's mostly sort of a folky rock, maybe just a tinge of jazz in it. And I did read somewhere that she had actually lived in Italy for several years. So yeah, and she's sort of somewhere in between she doesn't sound like the 20-something women singers like say a Phoebe Bridgers. She doesn't quite sound like the 90s ones either, somewhere in between. And she's been putting out records since the early 2000s, and I never really just heard of her until a couple years ago because I don't think she's ever like been big. So, but enough
you got that macabre on the front cover, she's holding the heart, and then on the back, it's like she's freeing all these birds, those lovely birds.
Yeah. There is a bit of a disconnect there, and there's nothing really on the record that would lead you to the somewhat macabre looking cover. So
cool. All right. So, Jason.
Okay, we'll go with a CD round this time. This is in honor of Jorgen, because he's a CD master. See, Jorgen, I have more CDs this year than you do. That's pretty crazy. Because I think he's been saying in the comments he only got like 2 or 3 records or something.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, most of these are all heavy metal, except for one. So, we're going to start off with a band from Germany. Speaking of Germany earlier, and Bavaria, which I think is where our buddy Alex is from. This is Defeated Sanity. And you would never probably be able to read that from their logo. Oh, yeah, you should never turn CDs like that. Somebody told me. But anyway. Yeah, what to say about this band? They started in 94, and it's on a very cool US label called Willow Tip out of Pittsburgh, which does a lot of cool metal.
Before you go on, all right, so somebody told you should never turn CDs like that in the jewel case. Why?
Yeah, because apparently that could scratch the CD if I'm right.
Oh, okay. All right.
Moving it too hard. Maybe put strain on that inner circle.
Those things always break. It's because sometimes it's so hard to get one CD out.
And when they're shipping, it's a good shipper from Discogs or whatever. If they put a little bit of padding here, they put like a little bit of bubble wrap just inside the case, that will protect that. Otherwise, I have received so many CDs in the mail now with that centerpiece broken.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke. We got legendary band Anthrax, of course, one of the big 4 thrash bands. This is not a great album by them, For All Kings. It's on Nuclear Blast. Yeah, I probably only spun it maybe once or twice. I just have it in the collection because I do have some Anthrax, but I prefer the early stuff from the 80s. Another band that's been around forever, Testament. I mean, you got to love these legendary metal bands. You know, when all the classic rock guys kind of die off, you know, one by one, we'll still have the metal bands that have been around forever touring at 70 and 80 years old. I actually have more vinyl than CD at home. Okay. Jorgen, you usually only show us CDs. That's why. This is amazing cover art, though. Really well done packaging. So Testament out of the Bay Area. This is not a bad album, The Brotherhood of the Snake. I kind of got back into Testament with this album. It's one of the first thrash metal CDs that I bought when I was getting back into punk and metal, circa 2016. Sodom, another classic German thrash band, one of the Teutonic top 3, them along with Destruction and Creator. I think I probably like these guys the best out of those 3. Both Sodom and Destruction are very hardcore punk influenced in their thrash from those early 80s days. In the 1980s thrash and hardcore punk, there's a lot of synergy going on. They also are kind of blackened a bit too in terms of satanic lyrics, at least in the early days. This one, not so much. It's got a bunch of stuff on here. Blood Lions, Who is God? It's getting philosophical here. They're also kind of pioneers of war metal. I guess would be another kind of subgenre for Sodom. Thrash and war metal. Oh, speaking of German Teutonic thrash, we've got Destruction. Another absolutely legendary band from the 80s. Still going today. I think only one original member at this point, but this is one of those, you know, these CDs in this era suffer from the very long CDs. They even have like bonus tracks on here as well. And so up to 12 tracks, sorry, just 12 on Nuclear Blast. I saw Destruction live at a local bar around this time, I think, but I don't remember a lot of the show. I guess I wasn't really big on them again yet. Okay, here's one that's not metal. I got 2 left here. This one and one more. Dust. This is some techno stuff. I think with some synth kind of edges. Again, nice on the packaging. And there seems to be a debate on Discogs about the vinyl version versus the CD version having different tracks or different track listings, or I don't really know. But it's the only album by this band. I do have a couple singles by them as well. They're from Brooklyn. And last but not least, a absolute smoking killer metal CD too, Witchery. These guys, I think, are from Jurgen's homeland. I think this is these guys from Sweden. Yeah, Black and Thrash from Sweden. So when we say blackened, it means like, you know, they have some dark underlord, satanic kind of leanings, whether for real or for show. But it's fun stuff. Ooh. Spooky. Spooky metal.
Well, isn't that kind of the with I can't remember if it's black metal or whatever, but the whole satanic image is just there as a whole big joke, right?
Some do really believe in it, especially, you know, maybe in Norway or Finland up Tommy's way, but
because even the satanic
the
church
90s.
here in the United States, they consider themselves it's just a joke. That, you know,
it's a joke for the most of the band, but there are some bands that really think they are something.
Yeah.
I think I have always think, even those in the early thrash metal times, I think this was just ridiculous. I was just laughing for the lyrics of the Venom and Bad Hurry when they started. And
totally.
but then even I always liked the Satan and 666. I'm like, yes. But,
yes.
It just was fun.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's sort of shock value, sort of rebellious. Some of them get real religious with it. Yeah, I mean, good for
bands
them.
like Venom, they was also thinking that joke, but the covers. They are like drinking of the vomit of the dying priest and things. Just a joke for them, but someone did take them too seriously.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm going to order a shirt from the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. So
Yeah.
wear a colander on my head. All right. So this one is a band that maybe not, was it last week or maybe the week earlier? These guys have been making records since the 70s, half Japanese. So this is their.
Oh, that's a good band. I like them. Jad Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, still making records. This is very cool blue vinyl, baby blue vinyl, powder blue vinyl. The three records of theirs I have are all from the 2000s. And then, going back into their catalog, and I'm looking at, I'm going, holy shit. I mean, their first album release was 1974. Well, it was a cassette album. And in fact, I think their first 3 or 4 releases were all on cassette. And then by 1980, I think they were releasing on vinyl. But it's Jed Fair, and who I think has been doing some, I guess you could call it solo work. I'm not sure. The records, whenever I have found them, have been, pretty inexpensive. I mean, this one was, it was brand new, sealed, $12. And his voice is I could see where some people might be a little, they might not like his voice. It's a little bit like Jello Biafra, a little bit like Molko. What's his first name from Placebo? A little bit, a little bit like that. But I enjoy the music. It's good. Like to get some of their earlier material, but I'm not that, it's not high on a priority for me to try and collect everything they got. I mean, Jesus, it goes back, 30, 40 years. But it's just pretty amazing that they're still doing it. Interesting music, half Japanese, which is weird because, all right, so on the record it says, with the word half Japanese, in Discogs they're listed with the fraction half Japanese. I don't know what the system.
Yeah, I discovered them like when I was a little kid, actually, like in grade school or like junior high, because they do have that kind of like elemental kind of minimalist lo-fi, almost childlike nature to them. They're a weird, unique kind of band. And Jad Fair has done solo stuff, and he does the cover art, I think, for the band as well, right?
I think so. I think you're right on that. I'd have to double check.
Because I was at a print studio in Netherlands not long ago, and I found a book of all his artwork and stuff.
Yeah, he does the cover art.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, I don't know, how would you describe, like indie folk? It's kind of lo-fi. It's kind of punkish a bit. But
it's
post-punk.
Indie, post-punk kind of. Well, what do they call it here? And let me click on the record, see how they categorize it in
Discogs.
And Discogs, they just put it as rock.
But they're unusual band. They're not stadium rock or anything.
Right? Yeah. We see now in my my folder, I call them punk, post-punk.
And the genre of Discogs is all basically at the whim of whoever creates the entry.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You can put Dungeon Synth if you wanted. But have you ever heard of them, Chris? You never heard of Half Japanese?
No. I've heard of them. The only thing, I just looked it up. I have a single that's Jad Fair collaborating with Teenage Fan Club.
Yeah.
In fact, it's on Alternative Tentacles.
Nice.
So it's about, I think it's about 20 years old, early 2000s. So
Tommy, have you heard of Jad Fair?
No.
No? Well, you might dig it. It's kind of a
Yeah,
fun listen.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, okay, I have here 2 psychedelic rock albums that are quite
Ooh.
much different
Woo.
from each other. First is the British band Purson. This is their second album and their last album. The singer Rosalie Cunningham left the band like quite soon after they finished this album. At least like about 1 year later, she had her first solo album ready. Unfortunately, her solo stuff are not as good as this band stuff. So it's psychedelic rock, maybe there in the indie side and a little bit folk side of things there. The first album named The Circle and the Blue Door is better album than this, but very nice. One nice album, and another psychedelic rock album from the same year is one of my favorite band, Chess and Ancient ones, and this is more coming from the heavy metal side, so heavy metal riffing there, and the lyrics are also there in the heavy metal type of thing. And they have, I think, 5 albums now ready, and this is their second album. They are keeping quite much their style there. Also, this is also female from the Yes is the singer, and she have also the one solo album. And if I'm not sure, she's now also singing in Finnish band Pääkallo. That means like school, and they are doing like, it's not metal, but there's surf music guitars and maybe a little bit Schlager type of thing. But all the logos are like metal bands with the skulls and things like that. But it's not metal, but probably the most people that are listening is coming from the metal realm, that listen metal bands anyway. Their first album is coming in March, I think. But yes, it's great band. They are doing great job. Recommend to anyone who's like good riffs and metal.
All right. So, like, you also kind of qualified them as psychedelic. So maybe what Cream might have turned into.
Maybe they
A
are
little
like,
heavy sound, but very psychedelic guitar oriented.
Yes, this is definitely they are coming from the heavy metal, but they are in psychedelic rock.
Yeah.
So you can listen to longer heavy metal type of solos and things like that. But they're more and more coming to the psychedelic rock style. The latest was a lot not as heavy as the couple first albums, but
Okay. Cool. All right, Chris.
All right. Well, I'm going to show Margot Price here with her debut album, Midwest Farmer's Daughter. Back in the day, we would have called this country music, but nowadays we call this Americana music because, of course, Americana and country are completely different somehow nowadays. So basically, if you're at all politically liberal, or if people like NPR and Pitchfork like you, then you're Americana. You're not country, even though it sounds more like classic country than most older stuff. Also, this was put out on Third Man Records, not exactly a classic country label.
Right.
So anyway, if you don't know the story of Margot Price, so she grew up in a farm town in Illinois, moved to Nashville to try to make it in music. Lived in East Nashville, which is sort of like the gentrified. It's becoming a gentrified part of Nashville. So it's basically liberal white people and people of color live in East Nashville. And so she banged around for years, not getting anywhere in the music industry. Then puts out this album. You remember Anthony Bourdain's show?
Yeah.
So Well, one of his last episodes before he passed away was his Nashville episode, and part of the episode was, oh, let's find somebody cool, unknown to feature on the show, and it was Margot Price that they featured. It was right around the time this album was being put together, and so the very first song on the album, "Hands of Time," is just like this harrowing autobiography. It's the family loses the family farm when she's a kid. She gave birth to twins, and one of the children died, and so there's obviously just a lot of sadness. And then probably the other really memorable song on there is called "Hurtin' on the Bottle," which, as its name would indicate, is a pretty it's a drinking song, and she can hang with George Jones and all those classic drinking songs with this. And she's put out a couple other records. She has a brand new one now that's literally, I think, has been out for a couple of weeks that I don't have yet. That's apparently supposed to be much more of a rock album. But this is pretty much classic country, but country now sounds like 80s AOR. So
Yeah, there's there always was that country rock kind of genre, that goes all the way back to the 60s. But
yeah. And I mean, there was the outlaw country people that didn't quite play
an alt country,
Yeah,
Here
they call it Americana these days.
Here is only like country schlager.
Yeah,
No actual country music.
Schlager?
It's only country schlager here. But hey, it's 1.5 hours
back
here.
in the 70s, there was something called Countrypolitan, which was like it was like the country music, but it had like the really poppy, stringy, easy listening sound behind it, which is not my favorite kind of country. So,
like the smooth jazz of
saying,
country.
Tommy, it's time for you to go.
Yeah, I think I call off. It's 1.5 hours. I actually show all my most important records. I have a couple left, but it's okay. But we see you maybe next Sunday. And
All right.
of course, in the videos. Yes. And
See you, Tommy.
Good evening. Thanks.
Tervet
Take care.
kädet.
Oh, look, that was going to be finished.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah,
Well,
Chris,
all right,
you still have some honors there to Tommy, I guess, later on. Yeah. That CD. Yep.
Yeah. So what have you got there, Jason?
Okay. Yeah,
I have
I'm going to
3
go
more
back.
records.
You have 3 more? Okay.
I have
do.
2 more.
Okay, I can do a couple more rounds here easily. I will get into another favorite label of mine that I've been talking about all the time, which is Lies. Lies, lies, and more lies. This is also one of their logos. I love the cheap fucking old school shitty ass logo style that they got going on here. Lies, Long Island Electronic Systems, and they got give us your MasterCard or your Visa, American Express. Here's a phone number. Just going old
Then
school.
those eyes.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember anything about the 80s club scene in New York, it's kind of ghetto. There was some lo-fi, just letters on a shirt. I mean, not even this kind of design. But anyway, that's what they're kind of bringing back because it's a New York-based label. This is spoiler alert here because I'm going to make a video later of my top 10 picks of 2016, and this is definitely going to be high up on the list. We're talking in the top 5.
Wow.
And the artist is called 3310 3402.
That's a very catchy name.
Super catchy, right? That shit's going to catch on. I'm sure of it. He is actually named Nenad Markovic. He's from Belgrade, Serbia. And I don't know if he was hanging out in New York and that's how he got on this label, or through the wonders of the internet, that's how they connected. But I have a couple records by this guy, and it's just really murky and experimental stuff. It's kind of droney, just sort of cinematic kind of sounds and noises and bleeps and blops as well a bit. But yeah, kind of a dark undertone to it as well. Just really cool shit. I don't think he's ever done a full album. It seems to be just singles, including on his Bandcamp. He has a lot of singles called Mechanica 1, 2, 3. But that one's a killer. Now, this is an album. Lies starts getting into albums around 2016, moving on from just singles. And this one is an artist called S. English. Shane English is out of Austin, Texas. Really nice cover art going on here. Very classy stuff. Shane English, actually, I showed last week a Bo Wanzer from Chicago and a Corporate Park split. And Shane English is the Corporate Park guy out of Austin. Anyway, more experimental abstract techno, a bit lo-fi, some drone happening a little bit, a bit of industrial kind of influences. Just a really sweet album. And like I was saying, 2015, 2016, this shit was coming back in an interesting way. Not your usual techno on the dance floor stuff. More murky and interesting. Another album on Lies by a different artist. This is Gunnar Haslam. He's putting out a record. I think I saw this guy live at a rave around 2010s in New York City. I'm gonna call it a rave because it was like a warehouse party all night in Brooklyn. Probably a rave. Bringing back the raves. Gunnar Haslam, Lebesque Measures is the name of this album. It's really cool. Again, yeah, more of that sort of abstract techno stuff. And his real name is Chris Miller, but he goes by Gunnar. Last but not least, we got Inhalants, another Lies album for this Lies tour. We're going down to deep Florida for this one. They're two New Yorkers again, but I guess they were inspired by the Crocs down there. Really fun, murky, weird album. This would be in my top 10 probably for the year too. Nice green, the green center sticker matches. Inhalants is two guys, Jahila Fields, aka Matt Morandi, and Max Rivets, who also records as Patricia. I've had some Patricia cassettes and records before, but I think this project is really their best of those two artists. I have their solo work, but I really like this Inhalants thing. That's my Lies round.
All right.
Good label.
Yeah, you've been showing a lot of stuff
Lies.
from that label. So, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen it. Although I'm gonna have to start. I've only recently started looking at what the label is. Sometimes when I am looking at, especially when it comes to the dance house and techno and
Yeah.
that, because there is so much material, and I am finding that like what's that label that Peel Sessions are all on?
Strange Fruit.
Well, there's the Strange Fruit label, right? But I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the one. But anyway.
But yeah, with electronic music, it's very singles oriented, not so much
Right.
albums.
So there's a lot of compilations,
labels.
together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
which is
Soul Jazz
really nice.
Records, I really like just about everything. I mean, if I see something that's a compilation that's Soul Jazz Record, I'll buy it.
It's
you know,
quality.
just because
Have
it's
you ever seen their store? I guess you haven't been to London, eh? And to their
no,
store?
I haven't. But
They
it's
have a whole
amazing. I
store.
looked at their back catalog; it's huge.
Yeah. Their whole store is just their label. I mean, they can have a whole store of just their label at this point. They have so many releases.
I'll have to get to London sometime. And
They're a real reissue label, right? And they do it so well, like the packaging and everything, the booklets. Yeah.
And this is, a compilation that I am going to show. A little bit of a violation, perhaps, of the rules, because the music on here is not necessarily from 2016, although this record was released. But the Rough Guide series is a pretty decent series for checking out different types of world music, etc. And I had already been getting into psychedelic cumbia music prior to this, but this is a good sampler of psychedelic cumbia. So, which is it's a very distinct Latin American style of music. It's very percussive, with blocks and congas and things like that. But they also get the electric guitar in there, and so it's a very it's mostly Central America and in Peru, Andean countries, and the couple of the bands that they have on here, Maria Isabel, that's Afro. I think that's the name of the band. But what is the one particular band? There's a very famous one. I know they're on here. Okay, Grupo Rosado, Los Oriente. Well, maybe they're not on this one. Anyway, it is very psychedelic music. And I realized that Carlos Santana, some of his music draws from the psychedelic cumbia sound and tradition. So when I started listening to it, I'm going, wow, yeah, I can hear where Carlos Santana has picked up, some of his guitar playing. Even the Clash, to some degree, particularly on Sandinista, there are a few tracks where, they were doing a lot of, Caribbean and reggae mixing into they always did, even going back to London Calling. But there's a little the cumbia sound they also bring into it. Check it out. And besides, the Rough Guide series has a lot of variety. So if you've heard something about whether it's psychedelic cumbia or if it is Saharan blues, Tuareg music, but other music from different regions of the world. They put together some really nice compilations and samplers that can give you a sense of what a particular genre is, and also identify some of the major musical players that are in there. So the Rough Guide series are worth checking out for that. So, what do you have, Chris?
I guess, 2016 seemed to be one of my I was in kind of an Americana phase then. And so I've shown Sturgill Simpson the last few weeks, and I'm going to show him again. So this is A Sailor's Guide to Earth. I think I told the story last week. This album won him a Grammy for Best Country Album. He was not nominated and not invited to the Mainstream Country Music Awards, kind of showing you the rift between the organizations. And so while this is still country, you definitely do have some of his rock and soul influences coming in as well. Welcome to Earth, Pollywog, Embrace for Impact are some of the more well-known songs. I know, Richard, you've said that I think you have either one or both of the Cut and Grass, where he does them bluegrass style.
Yeah, I have both of those, and then I also have the what the hell is the one that was very much country in the
High Top Mountain.
Top Mountain, yeah,
right. And so the bluegrass records, the Cut and Grass. So several of the songs from his earlier albums are redone in that very bluegrass style. Also, you may recognize the song "In Bloom." That's a cover. That's a Nirvana cover. Yeah. So
Nirvana.
Yeah. But not doing it as a rock song, kind of doing it as Sturgill I think he does a really good job of sort of portraying, sort of the emotions and angst that it sounds probably more like a MTV Unplugged version of Kurt Cobain than the Nevermind.
Yeah, I was going to say acoustic, I guess.
What's that?
Acoustic?
Yeah. So it's much more reminiscent of the MTV Unplugged style of it. So, and of course, with him being the iconoclast that he is, Sturgill, so he wins a Grammy for Best Country Album, and then his next album a couple of years later is not a country album.
I love that line in Bloom where he's singing, He's the one who likes all our pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. And I say, yeah. I like that. It's one of my favorite Nirvana lines. It would be interesting to hear that. Okay. Next one. Hello, Jen. What do you got for us, Jason?
So are we doing like 2 rounds, like this one and one more kind of thing, or
I got one left.
you got one more?
And I have 2 records left,
Okay.
so I can finish it off.
Okay, so I'll do this round and then I'll save a couple for the last one there.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a mixed bag this time. I got 3 records. They're all pretty much different. I'm going to start off Scandinavian style, actually. This is out of Sweden. I think this is on.
I got to make it big here.
Oh, I got to make them big. I think this is on the Posh Isolation label, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this is Body Sculptures is the name of the act, and they're really like a collective. I've been looking them up, and there's like, I don't know, 10 people in this band or something. But it's really kind of lush, dark, ambient stuff on the experimental tip, something that Stunty might like if you're a Coil fan. It's got sort of the softer sound of industrial going into ambient and drone. It's not a bad listen. I mean, it's not something I listen to every day. You got to be kind of in the mood, probably at night when it's more quiet. But yeah, Body Sculpture. I know the label quite a bit, Posh Isolation. They put out some quality stuff. Of course, it's all import over here, so it's a little bit pricey. Maybe in Sweden, this is like $10, but here it's like 40 or something for a single disc. So that's one. Cool record to have. I don't have a lot of ambient stuff, but a few things here and there. And then we got some hardcore punk next. Just seeing where these guys are from. Vagra. It looks, with the umlaut, looks like it's European, but I think these guys are stateside. This is the demo 2016, 8 tracks. I think I have the tape of this too, because I'm pretty sure this was a cassette first and then put on vinyl. But let me just check my notes here. Where the hell are these guys from?
They're from Florida.
According from Discogs, they're from Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, Florida. Yeah.
That would be the University of Florida.
Is that a university town? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Gainesville, Florida. Who the hell lives in Gainesville, Florida? But yeah.
The Gators.
The Gators, right? Yeah. Some cool crust punk out of Gainesville. Who knew? And then I got these guys. These guys are Canadian next, I think. I didn't look up their location. Cognitive. This is some tech death. I think these guys are out of Montreal. This is technical death metal. Deformity. Funny thing about this record, I saw them live and I bought it at the show, and then I sold the record, and then I bought it back again. It's because I'm a nut like that. So sometimes mistakes happen. Yeah. You buy a record and you sell it and you buy it back. It is just so cool. It's just fucking technical and nuts. I mean, death metal can be done technically. A lot of great death metal is kind of dirgy and kind of lo-fi and noisy. And this is noisy in death metal, but it's also technical. It's very tight. I mean, the drumming is like jazz drumming with all the different fucking twists and turns in tempo. And it's almost non-musical too. It's almost anti-music too, because like they're just stop and start and change of tempo and change the thing. And of course the vocals is like insanely fast, but also really guttural, and that low Cookie Monster vocal. It's all here, all in this package. It's a real treat. But it's definitely, I mean, these aren't songs you're going to hum later on, right? This is not melodic. It's more jagged. And it would be like an experimental Frank Zappa record, for 2023 or something. Although this is 2016. Cognitive. That's my 3 for this round.
Yeah.
I recommend some tech death.
With the Cookie Monster vocals, it's not going to be something that I'm going to be.
I just posted a death metal show I went to last night on YouTube, and Richie's like, I can't get into that vocal. I hate that vocal. Dude, you just got to embrace it and just love it.
No,
and also,
that's all right.
you don't necessarily want to hear the lyrics. You don't want to know the lyrics anyway, right? So like,
Well, sometimes I'm thinking, yeah, I probably don't.
Yeah.
All right, so for this round, now this band, I mean, Jesus, they've been posting or putting out records just like I don't know. Sometimes I think these guys they get together in a studio and they jam and then they record an album and that's it. And then of course, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And this was like probably the second record of theirs that I got. And this is Not a Gone Infinity.
That one's from 2016.
Yes.
Okay, I have that record, but it didn't show up for me when I searched.
Yeah, 2000, and now you've got me. I'm gonna look to be sure here.
The VC police are checking.
Because that I did that once before where
What happened?
all right, so 2016, yeah, Not a Gone Infinity, that's when it was first released. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a zillion pressings of it.
Oh, mine was a repress from a few years later. So, okay.
Well, mine's a repress also, but it was it's the very cool vinyl. I mean, I got the very very cool color variant. Pretty wild, and it's kind of noisy because of the color. I thought it was a shitty pressing, but now I am learning that when you have multiple color variations in the vinyl, as the needle is going across one to the other, you will hear there's a slight distortion, and because of this is a splatter vinyl with its black and green.
I have a different variation.
Oh, let me hold on. Let me make you big on that one. That's really pretty. So
not so much on the other side.
Oh, yeah, but it's translucent, so you can see the other side.
Yeah. And then does yours, when you focus right around the hole, it says Not a Gone Infinity, but
yeah, the same label, but. So the whole thing, the interesting thing, if anyone unfamiliar, hey Roger, is it starts, even though there are different songs in here, but it's like one continuous thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of side 2, it starts over again. So being a record, you can't really loop it. But if you had a format where you could loop it, this would be playing continuously over and over and over again, and you would never hear it stop because everything just like blends right in there.
You need like one of those old school radio carts that were just like a continuous loop.
Right. Or, like an 8-track, I suppose if it didn't have those interruptions, when it changes, but it would just continually do that. So pretty wild. I mean, I've heard people say that every one of their records is different, and they are to a point, but I also feel like every one of their records is the same. It's everything is different, but what they're doing is there's Frank Zappa would call it the conceptual continuity, that every one of his records, every one of his releases is related to all his other ones. I kind of feel that's the same thing going on with King Gizzard, is that there's a conceptual continuity going on, even though each record is different in many ways from other records. But anyway, there's so many good records, but I can't imagine. I don't know. I could never be a completist with them because they've just got too many damn records. And they just keep cranking them out, but they're all really good.
Hey, Richard, have you seen I think Richie just did a video, and also I think it was started by Melissa somebody. They're showing like the top 10 bands that you have the most records of in your collection.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So obviously you would be Frank Zappa, but like, and they don't show all the records. They just pick out a couple records. And I think I'm going to do a video of this later, but that would be a band. King Gizzard would be a band, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, if you had all of them. So
Melinda Murphy is the other video. She's got a big channel, right? Melinda Murphy. I
Yeah.
watched her last
right.
night. Fuck, what was it like? Her Beatles collection was like, I don't know, 200 records or something. Like it was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. I'm putting that together as well. So
Are you? Okay.
yeah, so I put a comment in Vinyl Richie's below his video. Oh, one of my top 10 is an artist I don't even like. He says, "Oh, you have to do a video of it."
You do.
So I'm not going to give away who the artist is, but it's somebody who I inherited the records.
I pulled a whole bunch last night. I was up late doing all this. And one of my top 5, I'm not going to say who it is either. I was surprised because I had just recently picked up a bunch of singles by them.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? That's in my top 5?
Yeah.
What's the most records you have of any artist?
So
20 or less or more?
it depends on how you count. So what
Yeah.
I did was I counted LPs only.
Okay.
And so it ended up being 12. But if you start counting like 7 inches and CD singles, I think I can get up to around 50 or so.
Yeah, I'm not including CDs. I'm not including 7s, but I am including 12-inch singles.
Okay.
I think the most I have
think
is
I
like
did include 12
17.
inches, but that's a minor part of my collection where it's a major part of your collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just eyeballing, my collection. Those cubicles,
Yeah.
So yeah, my Zappa collection fills 2 cubicles.
Wow.
So I mean,
That's
but
about 140 records or something. I think it's 70 records a cube, maybe 80 records a cube.
well, the way I store my records, they take up a little more room than
Okay.
probably I don't have them jammed in there. But then when I start looking at, my, yeah, so my Pink Floyd collection takes up that much space. Neil Young takes up about that much space. The David Bowie takes up about that much space.
Yeah,
So
Richie
yeah,
had Bowie.
my next groups are way smaller than
Yeah.
than the ones I have for Zappa, and that's just for the LPs. Because then I've got a lot of his material, especially later material, was only released on CD. So there's a lot of
Well,
material.
I'm not including CDs because then it would get even bigger, I guess. But
Yeah.
I am including, I think, different versions of the record. Maybe I'll see.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, with Zappa, there are a lot of my releases. I have 3 copies of a single
Different
release.
variants, though. Yeah, right.
Right. Either because one was mono, one was stereo, but then also there was the reissue. And yeah, sometimes different countries have different covers and things like that. So, but anyway, is you are next, Chris?
All right. So my
One
last
more
record,
piece. Yes,
my last
one more.
record will be a CD. And so, do you guys know who the I Don't Cares is?
I do not.
So
Nope.
this is called Wild Stab, and so this will be my weekly Juliana Hatfield content, but it's also Paul Westerberg content because this was the album that they did together, which came out in January of 2016. And so it's kind of weird because they only put it out on CD. They never put it out on vinyl. They didn't advertise it very well. It's out of print. If you want to buy it on Discogs right now, expect to spend at least $50. So I'm glad I already have it. Basically, the story was that they've never officially confirmed it, but it's pretty much known that they were a couple for a while. This was after Paul had gotten divorced and after the Replacements reunion tour. So she was at his place in Minneapolis and she got to go in his basement, and he had tapes all over the place of like songs he had written that he'd never gotten around to releasing on an album. and she's like, "Oh, you've got all this great stuff. It needs to be put out." And so a few of these were stuff that had been on some of his other solo records, two or three of the songs, but most of these were like songs that Westerberg had that were just like languishing because apparently it's completely disorganized. So it really sounds like a Paul Westerberg solo record because that's essentially what it is. But she's playing guitar and singing backup. Juliana sings lead on the song called Dance to the Fight. The song King of America is a really good. I mean, if you're a Paul Westerberg fan, that's a really good song. Hands Together is a good long song to end it. Have to Pee is basically Paul Westerberg making lots of immature pee jokes in a song because he does that sometimes as well. So he'll vacillate being between the mature Paul and the not so mature Paul. So this is kind of an oddity that came out. Something that really, really should come back out on vinyl. But since Westerberg hasn't put out anything since, and it seems to have given the indication that he doesn't give a fuck about his career anymore, I bet there'll never be another one of these records. I don't know if it'll ever be reissued.
Did he like get another job now? Like he doesn't do music anymore, or what?
This is
retired.
This is speculation on my part.
Yeah.
I think he makes just enough money off his back catalog, and when they reissue replacement records, I think he makes just enough money to live a modest living, and I think he's fine with that. Because I think he's pretty much, he doesn't want to tour, he doesn't want to put out new albums, he doesn't want to do anything. I think he basically wants to be a hermit. So,
yeah, Richard, do you know Paul Westerberg? You know the Replacements?
I know of both, yes, but I'm not familiar with the music.
Yeah, you need to get some Replacements. They're great.
Roger here was mentioning, that it does get kind of complicated the way we categorize music because, I have a Peter Green section where I've combined, Peter Green's solo work, but also Peter Green when he is with Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green when he was with John Mayall, or not John Mayall. They all got their start with them. Clapton and Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page.
Yardbirds?
No.
It was John Mayall's Blues Breakers.
Yeah, it was John Mayall. Yeah. So I've got them all, in the same cubicle, and same thing with Peter Gabriel. I've got Genesis with Peter Gabriel, and then after he left Genesis, I have no more Genesis. And then put all his solo,
totally up to you, Richard. You can do that. You can do that in your top 10.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's sometimes how I will group my records together. Is it's not. I won't separate the different bands. As long as I'm focused on the same person, because that's just how I think. And so, if I tried to separate it, then I'm going. Okay, so this record were they with this or that group or what? No, I just put it all together. So
and I realized, so I basically exported my Discogs list. You can export it and you get it as like a Excel spreadsheet file. And I was just sorting through it, and I wasn't paying much attention. I think I realized the reason why I didn't show up with as many Neil Youngs as I thought is I think the Neil Young and the Neil Young and Crazy Horse were coming up as separate artists in my sorting.
Yeah, I put Crazy Horse as solo material with Neil Young.
Yeah, I don't have any Crazy Horse without Neil Young, but I know. So you have some of those.
Yeah, I've got 3 Crazy Horse records that are just Crazy Horse.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because a friend of mine, the way he organizes his record is by first name. I mean, if it's a person. So Alan Green would be under the A's.
I do that.
Yeah,
Miles Davis is under M.
Whenever I'm over at his apartment and I'm looking for a record, I'm like, where is this record?
My iPod back in the day did it that way, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've always done it that way. I don't know what it's weird or something, but yeah.
Although I do have Alice Cooper in the A's,
Ah, there you go.
but that's because that's not his real name. So
Right.
it's
Oh yeah. What if an artist?
Yeah. There's nobody in the band named Marshall Tucker.
But sometimes an artist shortens it too, right? Like just Alice. He's Alice.
yeah.
So then you couldn't put it in Cooper, right? So you'd have a problem there.
And the Captain Beefheart, I put that under C.
Yeah.
So
So there you're breaking your own rules.
it's sometimes it has to just do with Dr. John. I do I have that under D?
The doctor. Dr.
Do
Hook.
I have that
As
under
long
J?
As long as you can find it, I mean, that's what you should do.
Yeah, I think my inclination would be to go to the D's for Dr. John.
As long as you don't put the Beatles under T.
No. That's all. That's another thing too. Yeah, some of the online things, like the different record sellers.
The sorting.
Yeah, they'll when you look up a band, I'm like looking up like Grateful Dead. No, it's under the T's because it's the Grateful Dead.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm like, oh Jesus.
A lot of T's.
Yeah, a lot of T's. All right.
Yeah, there's only one band that should be under the word the.
The.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So after all that discussion, where are we? Is it you, Jason?
Yeah, I think this is my last round here.
Yeah, okay.
We got a little nice batch here of interesting techno to show. And starting off, speaking about artists, this is an artist that changed their name, but it still falls under G. So Gavin Rusum, a New York-based multimedia artist, is actually trans and renamed in 2019 as Gavilan Rusum. Now, I don't have any of their latest releases, but I do have this one from 2016. It's on the Lux record label. Again, with that minimalist kind of just text look to the cover. In Wolfskins, Let the Bones Speak. Pretty good, kind of industrial techno. Lux label is out of Switzerland, so it's kind of pricey stuff to pick up. Then I got Nick Klein, which I started off the rounds with a Nick Klein split cassette. Remember that? He's out of New York. I love Nick Klein stuff. Just total weirdo shit. And I just saw like an Instagram post by him the other day where he's like actually in New York City, like in a subway, just doing fucking live noise in a corner of a subway. Just kind of treating the people to some weird sounds. This one's called Rhinestone Cowboy. Don't think it would fit in
that before.
I don't think it would fit into Chris Record Talk's country section, but it'd be an odd fit. It's kind of psychedelic techno. Then we got this artist, kind of a split GAM. I guess a GAM Coletivo Vandalismo. This is Portuguese, I think, these guys. The label's from Portugal. And I don't have a lot of Portugal records. I've never visited Portugal, actually. Really cool cover art, though. The label's called Eye for an Eye Records. And they put out some cool abstract techno underground stuff. And then the last two are both from, well, they're both on a British label. We got this one here. This is Samo DJ. That's not a picture of him, I don't think. He might be a skateboarder. And this is on the Hinge Finger label out of the UK. Let me double check that. No, sorry, it's on the Trilogy Tapes label. They're very interrelated, these two labels I'm talking about from the UK. But they are this label where they only put all the info just on the spine. I'm talking song titles, the artist name, everything is just on the spine. You got to get a magnifying glass because the vinyl itself has no info either. Pretty cool left field techno. And then the last one, this is on the Hinge Finger label. This is Core, CO/R. I got the no poll tax here thing. And UK left field techno. And that is the logo for Hinge Finger. Kind of primitive. And a bunny on the other side. Well, that's nice. So that's my my round. I've got a lot more records, but
All right, then. Well, then to close things out, I'm going to, I guess you could say, world psychedelic. And the band is Goat, Swedish band, Swedish collective. And this is Requiem. It's a double album, kind of a cool cover. And this it's got these like slant slits in there. So they're kind of this mysterious collective, and they've put out some other records too under a different name, but they wear all these masks. I forget the type of quote unquote religion that they follow, but it has some roots in voodoo and other similar types of religion. So they don't show their faces, but really amazing instrumentation. Kind of some of the music is very repetitive, very rhythmic, and really psychedelic. I really enjoy it. This is, they sing in English, so yeah, these are both no lyrics in here with it, I guess, and just basic, standard black vinyl. But it's a double record set. There's another record of theirs that I've only seen once in a store, and that was during a record crawl. And Mike Mike Hubbard at Hub Tunes, he picked that up, and he says that's also a really, really great record. But yeah, if you like, I say psychedelic world because they incorporate very much African rhythms into their music, and it is maybe a little bit of Caribbean rhythms that kind of work into that because they're very closely related. A lot of the Caribbean rhythms and African rhythms. But yeah, from Sweden, and it's really good stuff. So it's again something that you like. You should check them out. It is pretty easy to find on YouTube, so you can give it a listen and see if it's something that fits into your listening taste. So you put King Gizzard and the Lizard for under T.
What?
No, I don't.
I put it under K.
I put it under K. I'm being a smart ass. But I do put all of my John Cougar or John Mellencamp, it's all under M for Mellencamp, just because I want it all in one place.
Oh, no, I got him under J.
Under C for John Cougar.
You got him under C. I got him under J. We all got him three different ways.
He likes to be called by his real name, so I put it under M for Mellencamp.
What a guy. Pick a name, buddy.
Well, right. That's the reason I put it under C, is because that's how he started, was as John Cougar. And then he became John Cougar Mellencamp. And I'm like, no, I'm not giving you another section because you changed your name. I'm sticking with the way it is.
Well, it's like Jefferson Airplane, then Starship, Jefferson Starship, then Starship, and then.
Well, there's an easy solution to that.
Well, that's still J.
No, because Starship, at one point, they're just Starship.
There's an easy solution to that problem.
Okay, what? What's the solution?
No Starship albums.
No! No, that's rough. I don't have any, actually, a Starship, but I have,
I guess Blows Against the Empire is kind of a Starship album, but
that's the one that's Paul Kantner / yeah.
So, but Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship would all be under J anyway, because
those two.
So anyway.
Hey, Richard, when did you start getting back into collecting vinyl? Like, are we hitting like the peak year here, like 2017 next, or?
Well, when I started recollecting, that would have been probably around 2015. somewhere
Okay.
around there. And what I initially did is I mainly focused on reacquiring what I used to have. So
Right.
I was really focused mostly on 1960s and 1970s releases, and then some 1980s and 1990s. I was gradually looking at, all right, what did I have in CD?
We're rebuilding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And then you
And
started
then
buying new stuff, what, 2016 or yeah.
the newer material, probably within the last, well, not too long after I started redoing. Um, I don't know. Um, because I'm still finding stuff that was released in the 90s that I was unfamiliar with, and picking like Spoon or Slint. These are bands that didn't I was unaware of until the last 3 or 4 years. Um,
Yeah,
so
it's so fun
but now
rediscovering old stuff.
mostly, I I would say most of what I'm buying is in either the experimental avant-garde section
Hmm.
or bands with stuff in the 2000s, like Black Angel, um, um, Tame Impala, King
Like
Gizzard,
current
um,
rock. So
yeah,
yeah.
car
Cool.
seat headrest. A lot of the parquet courts, a lot of the bands that are coming out in the 2010s and later. So the later 2000s, if following along, I have more records. When we were doing the 2000, remember I combined the year 2000 all the
Oh,
way
I
up to
remember, man.
2004.
I still have nightmares from that decade.
Yeah, because
I could
you
have done
know,
year by year.
yeah. But then after that, I started having, a lot more, and
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot more. So, but I'm still, every once in a while, I'm rediscovering, bands that have been around for a while, like Viagra Boys. That's somebody that I really didn't know about until in the Gunkles, Robert Fitton had us listen to their latest release, and that's like really hard to find. And
When this series wraps up, maybe we should do something like this where we recommend a record to each other to listen to, and then we could get together on Sunday and say what the fuck we thought of that. I've never heard like half of that Americana stuff, Chris. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily buy it. I'd probably have to like listen to it online, right?
Yeah.
It's an idea.
well, right, yeah. Chris recommended when we did that for the Gunkles. He recommended for me American Football, and I had never really listened to them, and that's really
That could
good
be cool. Like we could do a
stuff.
review kind of show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Record review.
yeah. There's so much music out there, and there is a lot of garbage out there, but there's also a lot of obscure but really really interesting.
Some gems.
Record I recently purchased just on a whim. I listened to it online, but short story was a Discog seller was giving me a break because they sent me the wrong record, so I was going through a store, and that is the Master Musicians of Bukake, which is a play on the name of Master Musicians of Joluka or something like that, a Moroccan band. But the Master Musicians of Bukake are not riffing so much on this other band or mocking them. It is really interesting, amazing psychedelic ambient drone, just really amazingly good stuff. And I'm definitely going to be looking out for more records. Yeah, there's just always stuff to find.
So next week is 2017.
Next week is I'll post something about it for sure. But yeah, I got to look at to see what I have. for 2017. And if I need to, I don't know if I'll combine years again, because we're getting up to the we're getting I'm surprised. I have quite a few. I think I have quite a few for 2020 and 2021, and
as you
even,
should.
but I only have a couple maybe for 2022. So it's still getting thin, because again, just so much. There's just so much.
My 2022, when I was compiling the top 10, I was almost struggling to make a top 15, top 10 of releases of 2022. But since, what are we, February now, January, I got a ton more 2022 CDs, especially metal CDs. So that year has inflated now.
Yeah, Bodo, it's a really amazing. So, I mean, if you like ambient drone, tribal, I don't want that noise, but just really weird shit. They're, in some respects, they're kind of like Coil, but they're also very musical with some of their other songs. So very experimental, good stuff. All right, so yeah, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for participating today, and thank you all in the and back. And Zeb is here, back from an incredible. Well, you went to see The Residents? Oh, you bitch!
Legendary, legend.
That would have been so fun to go see something like that. Yeah, very cool, Zeb. But yeah, thank you all in the Peanut Gallery for participating and sharing your thoughts in there. And remember, our latest video for the Gunkles has been posted within the last hour. So we've got that new one up. Don't forget, Chris is at Record Talk, and then Low Noise Jason Skills channel for checking them out. He usually does a follow-up to this.
Yeah, I'll have my top 10. I'm prepping.
Yeah. So,
and maybe even the top 5 cassettes. I've been doing the cassette video separately too for each year.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been dropping in and watching those. Not leaving, don't leave a comment, but I have been watching them. So I see how you're piggybacking on this.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks everyone. And remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead. See ya.
See ya.